In the opening shots, we see a guy with Down syndrome named Zach taking his breakfast. He gave Rosemary pudding and handed her the drawing of himself as a wrestler. It also showed instructions on what she should do. Rosemary suddenly becomes ill. Zach immediately rushed to run away, but he was quickly caught. In the next scene, we see Tyler fishing. He is spotted by the Coast Guard. A lattice was put on the window of the disabled house. This is where Zach lives. He is constantly watching a videotape of his favorite wrestler, Salt Redneck. Elderly neighbor Carl can no longer see it. Eleanor, who works here, demanded an explanation. The fact is that this is not the first time Zach has tried to escape, and Rosemary helps him by pretending to choke on food. Zach doesn't want to spend the rest of his life here, but since he doesn't have any relatives, there is no other choice. Tyler's employer deprives him of his job because he steals from other people's crab traps. It was Tyler's only source of income, and now he doesn't know what to do. His former employer advises him to live a human life so as not to disappoint his late brother Mark. At night Zach watches wrestling on TV again, and at night Carl helps him pull the bars of the window open. Zach is very grateful to his friend and hopes that they will meet again someday. To get through the bars, Zach rubs himself with soap. He escapes without any personal belongings and is at the dock by morning. Meanwhile, the guys Tyler was stealing crabs from got to him. A fight ensued. Duncan threatened him not to touch their tackle again. Seeing this, Zach hid under a tarp in the boat. Eleanor realized that Zach had escaped. Carl pretended that he had nothing to do with it. Tyler wonders what to do now that he has no money. Emotional, he doused the competitors' crab traps with gasoline and set them on fire. They guessed right away that Tyler had done it and rushed after him. When Tyler left on the boat, he didn't know Zach was under the tarp. Turning off the engine, Tyler lurked in the thicket. When he heard an extraneous sound, he told the strange guy to be quiet. When Duncan and his buddy drove away, Tyler hurried to leave too. Eleanor is in trouble with her superiors because of Zach's escape. Glenn told her to find Zach by all means, or else he would go to the police, and they better not make a fuss. Tyler decided to sink his boat. Zach followed him and asked him not to leave him here, for he could not swim. Tyler had no choice but to take him with him. Zach tells that he dreams of going to wrestling school to become a great wrestler. Meanwhile, after reviewing Zach's videotape, Eleanor guesses that he plans to go to Aiden, the wrestling school of the famous Salt Redneck. Tyler intends to go on alone, for Zach will be a burden to him. Tyler caught a ride and learned from the driver that the whole marina had burned down. Now everyone's looking for whoever set the fire, and the 158th highway is blocked off. Hearing this, Tyler got out of the car, lying that he had to go back because he had forgotten something. On the beach, he saw some boy making Zach duck into the water, even though he couldn't swim. As a result, the boy threw Zach down. Tyler had to dive in after him. He did agree to help Zach get to Aiden. Meanwhile, Eleanor was asking people in town if anyone had seen Zach. Duncan and his buddy were busy looking for Tyler too. Zach doesn't understand why they can't walk down the road. Tyler is annoyed by the constant talking and questioning. Then Zach says bluntly that he suffers from Down syndrome. Zach has no money on him, and Tyler only has a few dollars on him. He bought fishing hooks and peanut butter. The salesman gave him his tincture. Suddenly Eleanor came into the store and showed a picture of Zach, saying he had escaped from the nursing home. Tyler pretended he didn't know any Zach, but suggested that the guy might be chasing the American dream. After that, Tyler even respected Zach. They're both on the run, and that unites them. Tyler set some rules. He's in charge now. The guys even invented a secret friendly handshake. There was a river in their path. Because Zach could not swim, he clung to the bags and briefcase that Tyler was dragging behind himself on a rope. Zach almost got hit by a boat that was passing by. Tyler pulled him out at the last moment. The friends continued through the woods until they reached the shore in the evening. Tyler taught Zach how to swim. At night, they were going to sleep right on the sand. Zach wants to be a wrestler and a real villain. He thinks he is bad, because even the family abandoned him. Tyler assures that's not true. Zach has a very good heart, and that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what people say. He has to follow his dreams, no matter what. Tyler remembers his brother Mark. In the morning, Zach asks the new friend to be his trainer. Tyler understands nothing about martial arts, but decides to try to teach Zach the basics. He also shows him how to use a gun. Zach talked about Eleanor, whom he considers his friend, because she has always taken care of him. The shooting lessons continued, and Zach was able to learn something. While Eleanor continued her search, Tyler and Zach found a boat they thought was abandoned. But suddenly the owner of the boat, blind Jasper, came out and pointed his gun at them. Jasper asked if they feared God. Tyler assured him they are, and then the blind man lowered his gun. Standing in the water, he preached to them. Jasper decided to give them all the junk from his yard except the boat. The guys immediately began to make a raft. But before they could leave, they had to be baptized. Zach doesn't know what that is, but he agreed. The guys sailed away on a makeshift raft. Tyler cried, remembering his brother again. Zach put his arms around him and began to comfort him. Meanwhile, Eleanor knocked on the door of the house where blind Jasper lives. He invited her to come in and talk to him about God. Tyler and Zach continued their journey and soon docked at the shore. They decided to drink that very same tincture. The guys partied into the night and talked heart to heart around the fire. Tyler suggests that Zach come up with a stage name because every wrestler should have an alias. Zach wants his name to be Falcon. And since he likes peanut butter, he will call himself the Peanut Butter Falcon. In the morning, Eleanor found Zach on the beach. She recognized Tyler, too. Eleanor intends to take Zach back to the nursing home because he needs special care. Tyler says that if Eleanor takes Zach away, it will break his life. All Zach wants is to see Salt Redneck. Tyler also suggested that Eleanor go with them. Since Zach had thrown her car keys into the water, she had no choice but to agree. They all floated on the raft together. Eleanor tried to patronize Zach, but Tyler advised her not to. Zach and Tyler started training. According to Tyler, Zach did not need any outside help, so Eleanor should not give him any reason to feel inferior. The girl was indignant at this statement. She had spent the last 2 years of her life taking care of sick people and she had not put Zach in an institution. It was not her fault. Zach managed to catch the fish with his bare hands. Meanwhile, Duncan and his buddy continued to stalk Tyler. The company fried the fish and ate it with peanut butter. Eleanor was amazed at how easy Tyler is about the craziest things. His life is full of adventure because he has nothing to lose. Eleanor loved spending time with Zach and their new friend. All together they had fun and just enjoyed every moment. At night the company made a halt. Zach asked Eleanor to dance, and Tyler watched them sitting by the fire. They slept in the cabin for the night. Tyler woke up to noises. They were found by Duncan and his buddy, who had set fire to their raft. Tyler owed them $12,000. The guys decided to punish him, but suddenly Zach was pointing a gun at them. Tyler advised the guys to get on the boat and leave. Duncan still demanded his money back and left. Now the company had to walk. Tyler asked Eleanor what her tattoo meant. The girl admitted to getting a tattoo in honor of her late husband. She had been widowed some time before. The company went into a cafe. Eleanor called Glenn and said she had found Zach. Glenn wants to put the troubled patient in a mental institution. The girl was shocked by this, but the boss remained adamant. Glenn told her to bring Zach back to the nursing home by tomorrow. Eleanor asked the waitress if she knew Salt Redneck. She replied that everyone knew him. He used to be a celebrity. Eleanor asked for his address. The company came to the old house. Tyler knocked on the door and asked if the wrestling school was here. He also explained that Zach really wants to see his idol. It turned out that the wrestling school had closed 10 years ago. Salt Redneck was now a very ordinary man. His real name was Clint. Not to upset Zach, Tyler lied to him that Salty Redneck no longer lived here. They left. Zach was still upset. Tyler had promised that they would find Salt Redneck, and he hadn't kept his promise. Eleanor says it's time to go back to usual life. Zach does not want to go back to the nursing home because he can take care of himself. Suddenly a car attracted their attention. It was Clint, who decided to play along with Zach. He got back into his stage persona and offered to teach Zach how to wrestle. The martial arts lessons began. Zach dreams of learning the atomic throw, but Clint admits that the technique is a fiction. It's a miracle of video editing, nothing more. In reality, it can't be done. Eleanor and Tyler watched a happy Zach. The girl asked Tyler what he was going to do next. He planned to pay back debt to Duncan and go to Florida. Tyler suggested that the girl go with him. In the evening over dinner, Clint continued to instruct Zach. Tomorrow Zach will have a real fight with Samson. The men played along with Zach to please him. The next day the company went to an amateur wrestling tournament. Zach was shocked to see how violently the rivals were fighting each other. One of the guys recognized Tyler and informed Duncan by phone of his presence. Before the tournament, Clint was giving Zach some final instructions. Zach admitted to Tyler that he is very afraid, then the friend began to encourage him. Tyler also decided to make Zach a costume. Eleanor shares her fears with Tyler. She believes that no one will stand on ceremony with Zach, because all these people don't care about him. It was time for Zach to get in the ring. Tyler kissed Eleanor and handcuffed her to the wheel so she wouldn't interfere with Zach. Meanwhile, he entered the ring. The audience was at a loss, and then began to applaud. At first Samson succumbed to him, but then he began to fight for real. Clint asked his buddy to stop it, but he didn't want the mentally retarded man to stay in the ring. At this point Eleanor saw Duncan and his buddy. She managed to free herself from the handcuffs after all. Inspired by Tyler's words, Zach picked up his opponent and threw him across the ring. The audience was stunned, as Zach actually performed the atomic hold. Tyler was also so surprised that he didn't notice Duncan knocking him out. Zach was taken to the hospital. Eleanor was very concerned about his future. Clint could not believe that Zach had done this. Eleanor drove Zach to Florida. A traumatized but alive Tyler lay in the back seats. Now everything will be fine.